What is up, gang? This is the X Team Featurette channel. I'm Chris, and I have a TGIX review for you today. And I'm going to be talking about the 1986 Trick or Treat. So, not the one that most of us think of when we hear Trick or Treat. I reviewed Trick or Treats a few weeks ago. I reviewed Hack-O-Lantern last week. So why not talk about Trick or Treats? In the theme of bad Halloween movies, I learned this movie existed because Maddie and I go to Bad Movie Bingo, and the last one was Trick or Treat, and I was like, what even is this? Like, is this the Trick or Treats that I just watched? So I looked it up, and it sure wasn't. It is actually, it's free to watch on YouTube right now. Without ads. So I will link to the feature film down below, and hopefully it doesn't get taken down anytime soon. That's where I watched it before Bad Movie Bingo, just so I could watch it without, being distracted by hecklers, because sometimes I like to know what's going on. So, Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne are in this movie. It has a heavy metal, kind of like an 80s hair metal soundtrack. I didn't dig it. So the movie opens up with Ragman, aka Eddie, and he's writing a letter to Sammy Kerr, and Sammy Kerr is the lead singer of his favorite band. He's like a rock god, Sammy Kerr. So Eddie's doing chores around the house, and the news starts playing clips of Sammy Kerr, and it catches Eddie's attention. He's like, oh yeah, it's my guy, and then the news says, oh yeah, Sammy Kerr, age 38, died in an apartment fire or something, hotel fire. I don't know. It was really, I think that it was because, I don't even know why. I wasn't sure if they divulged that in the intro. I might have missed that part, why he died in the fire. But at any rate, so, Eddie's super bummed, and then he goes immediately to their local radio station, and that's my one point about this. I love movies that have radio station scenes or take place in radio stations, in the vein of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 or Pontypool. There's lots of them, and I love them. I think that is such a cool thing. Some people like horror movies that are set in the snow. Some people like whenever they, have certain elements to them. I love when they take place in a radio station. So I thought that was really, really cool. When we get to the radio station, our shock jock is played by Gene Simmons, and I don't care for Kiss. I mean, they're all right. I like some Kiss songs, but I just overall, most of it I'm not into, but I am certainly not into Gene Simmons' personality. He's a great frontman, but he is such a good actor. He is, he has a part playing a sleazy lawyer in the movie Extract, the Mike Judge movie. Love that movie, and he has a part in that. He had a really, I think that this was in 1986. This was whenever he was I think he was doing he was trying to become an actor then. So he had a few roles back then, and I think that he was really, really good in this one. He played the part well. Kind of wish he acted more. So I know, I mean, like I said, Mike Judge, he's still doing it, but yeah, so that was really neat. I like him a lot more than I like Ozzy, though. I cannot stand Ozzy. The only Black Sabbath record I like is the one where Dio was the front man, so sorry, Ozzy. So Eddie gets to the radio station. He's talking to Gene Simmons, the jock, and don't even know what his name was in this, but anyway, he gets there and he's so bummed out because Sammy Kerr is dead. And Sammy Kerr used to go to their local high school, the school that Eddie's in now. So I guess Gene Simmons was friends with him, and he's look, okay, here's a record, and it's the only one of this new release that they have. It's a demo, and this is the only copy ever, and we're gonna be airing it on Halloween at midnight. And so he made a tape. He has the tape of it, and then Eddie has the record. So there are two existing copies of this thing, and they're going to be playing it on Halloween, but Eddie gets to take it home and sample it. And he is so excited at this point because he's such a nerd. He's like a metal nerd. So we go to school, and then Eddie's getting bullied by this group of popular kids, and he's in love with this popular girl, Leslie. And for some reason, he thinks that she's into him too, and she keeps she invites him to a pool party, and they throw Eddie in the pool, of course. Like, what type of bullies would they be if they didn't throw him in the pool? So he gets mad. He wants to get revenge, and that's pretty much it. I thought that it was gonna like go full blown Carrie. It's kind of mix of Carrie and like at parts they have like elements of Christine in it with the cars and stuff. So a little weird, but that's kind of like the feel that we have. So Eddie has this super nerd friend. I think his name is Roger, but they're at Eddie's house and they're listening to this record or something. So he plays the record backwards and it tells him, let the big fish help themselves or something. You're the bait is you. And he takes this as this message, so he basically stands up to the jocks. So he pushes one of their lunch trays into their face, and then this chase ensues throughout the school. And Eddie tells Roger, oh my god, there's a message in this record for me. And Roger's just like, oh, you're an idiot, like that's made up. All those subliminal things are put there by the record companies to get you to mess up your record and buy more. And it turns out Eddie's right. So he starts getting advice from his records and they start telling him what to do. And before it gets too out of hand, there's a scene with Eddie's mom and she's like trying to turn off his stereo. And she's just like banging the hell out of this thing. I'm like, Homegirl does not know what a power button is in 1986. It was really bizarre. But before it gets too hectic, Eddie realizes that there's something wrong. Like, at first he thinks it's cool. He's like, oh my gosh, like, Sammy Kerr is talking to me and helping me fight these bullies. But then he realizes that it becomes a problem, so he has to stop the record from killing everybody, I guess. We start to realize that there is a problem. There's a scene in a car where these people are making out. It's the Popular Kids. It starts with the girl. She, like, puts on these headphones. She's listening to this tape in the Walkman, and, obviously it's the tape from the radio station, and she just like, it starts to take her clothes off, and then like this monster comes out. So it's pretty interesting. So that is all that I will say really about the plot, because I don't want to spoil anything. But I have to talk about Ozzy's character. Ozzy plays like this really clean-cut preacher, and he's on TV getting like interviewed, kind of like a Dr. Phil type thing, and he's like saying, oh, rock music is bad and all this stuff. Like, he's like trying to say we have to stop rock music. His character was like really the only comic relief in this movie. There's a lot of metal horror movies, but I feel like a lot of them are very comedic. Like, we have, like This Is Spinal Tap or Deathgasm. Deathgasm's a amazing example, one of my favorites. Day of the Beast. So I just feel like in Trick or Treat, there's not a lot of humor to it. So even though it's an 80s horror movie and it's centered around heavy metal, it is not like funny. Most of them are, and this one is not. So really Ozzy is most of our comic relief in this. Even like last week's review, Hack-O-Lantern, there's a big rock metal influence in that also, and it's not humorous. It's not supposed to be. It's not good, but it's not humorous. Like, it doesn't have that comedy element mixed into it. Since we're talking about music, the obvious thing for this movie is the soundtrack. I love 80s metal. I love Iron Maiden. I love Judas Priest. I love Dio, Rainbow. I love all of that. I love Anthrax. I'm not into hair metal, I guess, and this is more like hair metal. So I hated the soundtrack. It was so annoying. And like I was saying, like Hack-O-Lantern's soundtrack, I don't even know if I mentioned it, but it was very repetitive, and this had that too. It was just very, very, like, the music in it, a lot of people like it. Like, I was like looking at other reviews, and a lot of people really enjoyed the music to this and the soundtrack, but it was too much. It was too much. It was like, I thought that Dee Snider was going to pop out at any moment. I couldn't take it. What's interesting, the whole soundtrack was composed by the band Fastway. Gene Simmons happens to be their producer, so that explains, what is going on there. He was probably like, yeah, I'll do a cameo in the movie. You got to get these people to do the soundtrack, and they're like, oh yeah, whatever. You're Gene Simmons, because that was like at the height of his career. The lead singer at this, I don't know if that's like the case anymore, but the former frontman for Fastway is now the frontman for Flogging Molly. I I don't like them either. So I must not like this guy. But from what I heard, like the actual vinyl soundtrack for this movie has like the backwards subliminal messages in it. So that's pretty cool. You know, one thing that's pretty neat. Things I don't understand, like where did they get the name Ragman? His license plate said Ragman. They don't really talk about it, unless I'm missing something. So if you have seen this and know what Ragman's supposed to mean, let me know because I'm lost. They call him, like he calls himself Ragman, really, more than anything. He's such a nerd. Like, you know, and it's like his friend Roger is not a heavy metal nerd. He's just a nerd. So it really reminds you of like back in the 80s, heavy metal kids were not, like they didn't fit in with like the in crowd. So this is like a really, it does a good job of showing that, you know. And again, I went back and forth between thinking Eddie was like kind of cute and like a total goon. So I don't know. So I'm recording this before I see it at Bad Movie Bingo. If I see it there and I have stuff to add, maybe I will. But at this point, I just watched the thing on YouTube. I thought that it would be the perfect way to end my terrible Halloween movie marathon. It's a bad movie, but it's very fun. And it's free to watch. So what do you have to lose other than some of your life watching it? I don't know. It is really cool though. So if you have heard of it before, you know, leave me a comment. Let me know where you heard of this and what you think of it. And if you have not, you know, go watch it and then let me know what you think. Unless you hate it, and then I'm sorry. So that is my review. It's kind of like a really interesting possession flick centered around heavy metal and horror. And who doesn't love that mix? Unless, unless Fastway's involved, apparently, because then I don't. So thank you for watching my review, and I swear I'm done with terrible Halloween movies now. So if you come back next week, it'll probably be something better. So I implore you to do that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Happy Halloween!